This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Education plays an integral role in individuals' lives and the nation's position in the world in general. On the one hand, educational opportunities boost people's skills and refine their talents, allowing them to become a part of the workforce. On the other hand, such situations immediately affect the nation's economy and environment, significantly improving social mobility, reducing discrimination, and enhancing government performance. Still, the cost of higher education is a significant issue that affects students from socioeconomic levels. The increasing cost of tuition, textbooks, and other fees has made it difficult for many students to pursue higher education. As a result, considering that affordable higher education aligns with the idea of fundamental rights, decreases the burden, and makes the workforce more qualified leads to the notion that education should be free. First, a well-educated workforce is essential for a thriving economy. By freeing public universities and colleges, the government can increase the number of students pursuing higher education, which will result in a more highly skilled workforce. Some might argue that economies are still thriving and the number of talented and ambitious people is increasing even without regulations that make education accessible. However, it is vital to consider emerging countries as well. This is because high education investment is predicated on the idea that it would raise the number of trained workers needed to boost national production and the citizens' quality of life. Thus, compared to emerging nations, most developed countries spend substantially more on education, over 6% of their gross domestic product. Moreover, people with the skills to recognize and resolve issues and who can work in multiple disciplines to handle multifaceted and intricate duties are assets to a nation's success in society. Therefore, the quicker the pace of progress, the more increased the quality of life of the citizens, which is essential not only to the developed but primarily developing nations. Another reason why higher education must be free is due to the detrimental effect of student debt on people. The cost of higher education has led to an increase in student debt. Many students graduate with large amounts of debt, which can take years to pay off. By freeing public universities and colleges, governments can reduce the burden of student debt and allow students to focus on their education instead of worrying about how they will pay for it. Some might argue that making education free will only be a liability to the government. However, in reality, student debts significantly reduce the capacity of individuals to perform better. Any debt leads to a decrease in individual economic prosperity. First, such negative impacts of debt are more likely to be felt by students who already struggle financially. These people include women, particularly single mothers, students from racial or ethnic minorities, and those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. Reliance on other financial instruments, such as credit card debt, can make this problem worse. However, there additionally may be long-term negative impacts of student debt on well-being, such as reduced levels of involvement in academic and social activities due to heavy work. Therefore, costly tuition and student debts only make the young workforce less productive. Finally, education is the key to success, and everyone should have an equal opportunity to succeed. However, the current cost of higher education has created a system where only those who can afford to pay for it can pursue higher education. By freeing public universities and colleges, governments can ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed. Some might argue that the most necessary kind of education is taught in school, and then it is the student's responsibility to pursue higher education. Still, based on the notion of fundamental rights, education is among the necessities to which everyone must have access. The current cost of higher education is a barrier for many students, especially those from low-income families. By making public universities and colleges free to attend, governments can remove this financial barrier and ensure that everyone has equal access to higher education. This way, it will be possible to support those who need it the most and help the authorities increase social mobility, which is essential for fighting poverty and discrimination. Hence, the idea that education should be free arises from the observation that accessible higher education is consistent with the concept of fundamental rights. It reduces the burden and improves worker qualifications. The benefits of free higher education are numerous, including increased accessibility to education, economic benefits, reduction in student debt, and equality of opportunity. It is time for governments to invest in people's futures and ensure that everyone has access to the education they need to succeed. In the end, it will be possible to reduce poverty and break the cycle of discrimination through improvement in social mobility. Did you like this free education and its main advantages sample? To get more works like this one, make sure to check out the free database of academic paper examples at ivpanda.com. You will find thousands of samples for all your study needs, without even having to register.